Sir Isaac Newton. Law of gravitation. What really happened with the apple? Probably the more correct version of the story is that Newton, upon observing an apple fall from a tree, began to think along the following lines: the apple is accelerated, since its velocity changes from zero as it is hanging on the tree and moves toward the ground. Thus, by Newton's second law, there must be a force that acts on the apple to cause this acceleration. Let's call this force gravity, and the associated acceleration the acceleration due to gravity. Then imagine the apple tree is twice as high. Again, we expect the apple to be accelerated toward the ground, so this suggests that this force that we call gravity reaches to the top of the tallest apple tree. Sir Isaac's most excellent idea. Now came Newton's truly brilliant insight: if the force of gravity reaches to the top of the highest tree, might it not reach even further? In particular, might it not reach all the way to the orbit of the moon? Then, the orbit of the moon about the Earth could be a consequence of the gravitational force, because the acceleration due to gravity could change the velocity of the moon in just such a way that it followed an orbit around the Earth. This can be illustrated with the thought experiment shown in the following figure. Suppose we fire a cannon horizontally from a high mountain. The projectile will eventually fall to Earth, as indicated by the shortest trajectory in the figure, because of the gravitational force directed toward the center of the Earth and the associated acceleration. Remember that an acceleration is a change in velocity, and that velocity is a vector, so it is both a magnitude and a direction. Thus, an acceleration occurs if either or both the magnitude and the direction of the velocity change. But as we increase the muzzle velocity for our imaginary cannon, the projectile will travel further and further before returning to Earth. Finally, Newton reasoned that if the cannon projected the cannonball with exactly the right velocity, the projectile would travel completely around the Earth, always falling in the gravitational field but never reaching the Earth, which is curving away at the same rate that the projectile falls. That is, the cannonball would have been put into orbit around the Earth. Newton concluded that the orbit of the moon was of exactly the same nature. The moon continuously fell in its path around the Earth because of the acceleration due to gravity, thus producing its orbit. By such reasoning, Newton came to the conclusion that any two objects in the universe exert gravitational attraction on each other, with the force having a universal form,